All right, 3, 2, 1. Third Wheel Podcast. You know what it is. Just kidding.
But for those of you who don't,
Yeah, welcome. welcome back. That was a little shaky intro. I'm Caleb. This is my associate here.
Mr. Shaps.
You can't see him, sadly. If you know the format, if you've been here a while, welcome. You know, good to see you again. If you're new here, also welcome. Good to see you. Hope to see you again. We have an interesting topic today. I guess we didn't lay down the ground rules.
Yeah.
Are we going to mention names this time?
I'm
okay.
I'm okay with them now.
Okay.
Enough has happened, I think,
Okay.
to where we're safe. So
We are going to talk about Gateway Church, I think, right? Yeah, Gateway Church. Last time we talked about this was with me and Darcy, and we weren't allowed to say names because Shaps didn't want us to. But this time, I guess, all bards.
there was a lot of uncertainty around that time.
Yeah.
We didn't really know what was going on. We
Sure.
didn't know who was involved. So
Yeah, I had to do a lot of censoring in that one. I was
Yeah.
like, Bobbert Norris, you know.
But
So
I think it's mainstream enough now to where we can talk about it. So
it was mainstream back then, but there would have been a lot of I wouldn't say misinformation. I think we did pretty good on that one, research wise, and not trying to go into conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff.
There's a lot more information available now, though,
Yeah.
that can definitely put together the rest of the story.
Yeah, so there's a lot. You kind of had a direction you wanted this to go.
So
And-
this wouldn't be much more of a. I don't want. This doesn't mean to be. It doesn't mean to me like a let's bash Robert more. It's more like what Gateway responded with recently. It's so they did a live stream a few weeks ago, and I think it's important for everyone to watch it because it's one of their only elders, one of their few remaining elders who takes the stage and kind of opens up and spills the beans on everything, which is something Gateway's never ever done before because everything's always been behind closed doors, good or bad.
What's that guy's name? The head guy doing it.
He's an elder, but I actually didn't recognize him.
I think he's the only one that's like kind of clean in
The only
this.
person I hear from people from there who say like, he's an actual like real guy.
I mean, he's the only one because all the other elders. Well, we don't know all of them, but a lot of them. There's like 6 of them that resigned or something.
There's only like 3 left.
Yeah.
And there were I think 10.
Mm-hmm.
But he was one of the newer guys.
Yeah.
And
That's right. He was brought on.
Not
after.
one point did he ever try to justify his stance. He did say a few times like, "Hey, I was a newer person. Like I got told the same story that everyone else got told."
Yeah.
And by that time, everyone just accepted it. So it's like it was past the time. I still I don't know how much more he could have done, but the elders, obviously, I've always stood in the stance that they should have done way more.
Yeah.
And a lot of them probably knew. And sure enough, he came out and he said, he didn't say it for certain that these people knew because he doesn't know.
Yeah.
But he did say as soon as the investigations did open up, so many of them resigned immediately.
Yeah.
And that is like the biggest, like.
That's a tell.
That's a tell.
Yeah.
Basically an admission of guilt.
Right.
And I'm always like, instant until proven guilty. But it's like.
Pleading the fifth.
To just be for so many of them to unanimously be like, we're not touching this, we're out, we're gone.
Yeah.
Apparently, as soon as the allegations started back up, he and some other people approached Robert, and immediately when Robert knew what was going on, he resigned immediately too. So that is just like scum of the earth 101.
Yeah.
Is when your ring of buddies like all decide, hit the red button, self-destruct, like we're out.
Yeah.
So their leadership abandoned them. The people who were actually working, the people who didn't know what was going on, supposedly.
They were just holding up the church.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, if they did know, they would have left with everyone else because they would have been on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
But their leaders just abandoned them and they had nothing. They had nowhere to go. Like, it's like, what do they do? And then he admitted that he didn't say what it was, but we kind of know. There was a rumor going around that Robert was suing them for wrongful termination. And he did say on stage that Robert was trying to get more money from them.
Yeah.
It's like all this drama stuff would never have been told on stage before. Like never did they ever go into any stuff like this, ever.
Yeah.
So for them to be so open about it, specifically him, I'm like, I was baffled. I'm like, I can't believe this is actually happening, And he did try to defend Gateway from the class action lawsuit of their tithing. Basically, people say that they're misappropriating funds with giving. I don't know what the evidence is behind that. I'm not saying that is or is not, but he refuted that.
Yeah.
He didn't really throw any evidence, but he did say they have independent auditors
Sure.
managing that.
If they didn't hide anything, then the auditors will come out with nothing. You know.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
you're
So
good.
it is what it is. I think people are.
just Dave
I think
Ramsey.
people want to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it just comes
I think
out,
people
"They're
want
good."
to buy my book.
Yeah.
Goodbye. It's the only book left in the bookstore. Everything else just.
Because they scrubbed. Okay, sorry. They scrubbed everyone. Robert Morris's stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I don't think you can see one sermon on the internet that he has.
That's such a shame. Maybe we can get into later about like where the line is. Should you still listen to his stuff or not? But
Yeah, honestly, it's
I don't
hard
know.
because it's almost like, would you listen to Ravi Zacharias' old stuff,
right.
knowing how much of a creep he was? Like,
Definitely. Ravi Zacharias. And even Tony Evans, man.
mm-hmm.
Like I
And
love
Tony. Everyone loved Tony.
I love Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my thing. He stepped down due to we're already at 6 minutes.
Let's go.
We're killing it. Pacing, suck it, Craven the Hunter.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, no, it's perfect because this will probably come out right after the movie comes out. We'll have done a review and everything.
Right.
But anyway, when you step down due to an unnamed sin,
Yeah.
what sin other than child assault would you not name?
Because unfortunately, adultery is forgivable. I was
Yeah.
actually telling someone this about this. Like,
Yeah.
people are willing to forgive pretty much every crime imaginable, except for two things.
Yep.
Usually, R word. Sorry, R word usually, or
How dare you say grape?
I feel like we're gonna. Yeah,
You're the one editing this, not
I don't
me.
know where YouTube stands on that that word,
Yeah.
or any harm
my
to a child.
My stalker will say arped.
Art. I wonder if she knows how to spell it.
She'll say arped, but then like 2 sentences down, you use the full word. I'm like, what are you doing? Anyway,
So that
she's
word,
stupid.
which is, I think it's stupid how we can't say it because it's an actual crime, but whatever.
Yeah.
That word or any harm to a child is unforgivable, never forgivable, right? So yeah, like unfortunately, that's the way it is. Even though I think it's just such a weird stance to take. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, there should be, and people are saying like, oh, should he be forgiven? Hasn't he done a lot of good? And it's like, no, dude. Even if he becomes like born again, even though he already was born again,
Yeah.
even if that all happens, like there are certain privileges that get taken away from you.
Yeah.
Like you abused your power, and that is the worst thing. If you believe in the Bible, that's the worst possible thing you can do in the Bible is believe
Sorry, you said so grape and what was the other one?
a harm to a child.
Harm to a child. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you will not find anyone to forgive that, right?
Right.
Very, very rarely. So in the Bible, if you believe that, Jesus comes down really hard on, and God as well, leaders who take advantage of their power, like kings of Israel or the Pharisees, like Sadducees, everyone. He comes on especially hard to them because they are misleading the lambs, right?
Yeah.
It's probably the worst possible thing you can do. So when you do that, I think your leadership should be taken away. I don't care if you're a good communicator, like you're done.
Right.
Like, and also submit to the law of the world you reside in.
Yeah.
Don't just say, "Oh, I should be forgiven because we're all Christians," right?
The
It's like,
Gateway Police cleared me.
yeah, exactly. It's like, no, you committed a crime, and I would say this to anyone.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone should be forgiven because of their faith. I think if you commit a crime and you're guilty of that crime, then you should face the consequences, no matter the context.
And the word is consequences. Like if a judge, if you submit to the police and they arrest you, and the judge throws the charges,
right,
you've submitted to the consequences.
Right.
At that point, like, okay, you've done what you're supposed to
right,
do.
exactly,
Whether that's 20 years or you're
It's out of your
forgiven,
hand, yeah.
or your dad pardons you.
right.
Sorry, I can't help it.
That was
I'm
good.
shooting. I don't want to say that.
Oh.
I was gonna say taking shots at everybody, but hold on a minute now. I don't want the FBI to come knocking on the library door.
Yikes!
Sorry. Anyway,
Now, where did I put my?
where did
inhaler?
where did I put my unaliving pills? Because that's definitely what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's going a little too much into Robert. I still want to focus on
Yeah.
Gateway. They decided to completely disband the apostolic elders, so there are no more paid elders, which I always thought was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Gateway, and that was a normal thing.
I would say, why is that weird to you?
I don't think elders should ever be paid by the church that they're supposed to be.
The fact that they were
consulting
paid
for.
is what
They were on staff.
Okay.
And I thought that was normal until I started going to other churches, and turns out that is not a normal thing. It's not scriptural. And most, like the church I go to, none of the elders are on staff. In fact, no one really knows who they are except for like some key people
Yeah.
intentionally.
So that's weird then. I was going to say at first, I was like, well, it's their church. They can do what they want. Then I started thinking about it. So the elders are going to want to, by being on staff, they obviously want the church to keep making money, to perform well, to stay open. Even if they made minimum wage, they want the church to at least stay open.
Right.
So they already have an interest in covering stuff up.
Exactly.
Because they're paid.
It's inherent. Like you can't avoid that.
Yeah.
Now with my church, the elders, they may not be known by anyone, but they all serve. I know that much because I know most of them. I personally do. And most of them serve the church, but they do not take a cut from it at all. And that's in our bylaws, which means it would technically be, I think it'd be illegal actually if they did do that.
Okay.
Gateway, they always allowed apostolic elders, and I thought that was a normal thing, but it's not. And especially when they start putting all those business people in those roles, now it's a little more fishy that you think about it. It's like, now I can see why there's a class action lawsuit, or at least a big audit, because it's like, where has this money been going? Now, do I believe they did anything bad? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
when there's so much money going into it.
exactly like millions, tens of millions and millions and millions and millions.
That's where the audit's for, though. You're not going to find every penny unless you're the federal government,
right? So, especially since it's a nonprofit, those are most subject to for fraud than anything else, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just to say, like, I want to give credit where credit's due.
That guy.
Specifically him, because it took so long
What's his name?
for them. Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah, let's do that. Elder speaking at Gateway.
I have the stream. I can probably pull it up.
I got the YouTube video.
Oh, cool.
I don't know this guy's name.
He has a name tag at the very beginning.
Oh, really? Perfect. That's why I like you, buddy. You always come through.
So, yeah.
Oh, great. I'm trying to find. I'm seeing if in the comments they had something. Trey Wilbanks.
Elon Musk is speaking at a Dogecoin event, by the way.
Oh, shut up. Actually, let me check my coins real quick. Man, screw you.
Trying to help you, bro.
Yeah, also. You just gave me crap for checking. I only went up $3.
Me too.
All right. Continue. Trey Wilbanks.
Trey Wilbanks, thank you.
Yeah.
Trey Wilbanks. Because
Trey, we love you.
it was a few months of, first of all the cover-ups, and then like them coming out and saying, we stand with Robert, and then after Robert got outed, we stand strong as Gateway, stronger than ever, blah, blah, blah. And then like more people got outed. And then like there was the cringy standing ovation they gave to James Morris, but it felt like it was a standing ovation to all the Morrises. It was just like really messed up.
I got some opinions about James Morris, which you probably do too.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that or no?
We can, yeah.
Okay. I didn't see that, the standing ovation, but I remember that first stream after the allegations. I think they streamed it from not Grand Prairie, not South Lake.
More Fort Worth?
No. I feel like it was Justin, or it was one of the
Frisco, Justin.
It might have been Frisco. It was one of the out there campuses. It wasn't one.
Yeah.
In case protesters show up, they picked a place where they were pretty sure nobody would show.
Right.
Because
they can open up the moats.
the moat campus.
Right.
Anyway, because I think there were protesters at the South Lake one.
Sure enough.
Yeah. So they're like, we're not opening here. But with James Morris, is the word nepotism?
Yeah, that would be the correct word.
I think.
And actually,
yeah,
that's a good point, because a lot of people had the problem with that when Robert announced that. And a lot of other churches don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, it is kind of, it sounds like something that would be normal.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of unheard of for a leader of a church to pass on everything, all the power to their son.
Yeah.
That's like some King of Israel stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that is another reason why it's very important for the elders to be pretty unbiased, because they want the church to succeed and everything, but also they should be in charge of who gets to lead the church.
Exactly.
Not the lead of the church. That's taking away power from the elders and giving more power to the king. So
their one job as elders, this is why I'm glad it's not, they fired them all and got rid of it. Their one job is to be, if Robert Morris can't do this anymore, we got to pick somebody who can.
Right.
That's their job.
Yeah.
And they failed because they were like, oh, well, his son will do it. Oh, something happened. Well, we're just gonna all
They
resign.
probably didn't even have a choice in the matter, and they didn't care.
But even then,
Like Robert had unlimited, 100%
Yeah.
power.
but when Robert stepped down, they all resigned. You know what I mean? So like they had one. They had one job.
Because they were like, well, screw, because we're gonna be taken down with everyone.
Yeah,
like our names
yeah.
are gonna be dragged into the mud. It's like
Mhm.
they didn't even do the interviews. They
Yeah.
didn't even do the interviews, like because they knew.
Yep.
So, call that guilt, call that fear, whatever. But it's like the rats escaped the sinking ship.
Yeah.
Now, do I? I don't know if I have. Part of me like has hope for Gateway a little bit, only because there are so many people there who were hurt.
Yeah.
But a lot of those people defended Robert without question.
Yeah.
And I think that's bad. I think you honestly, if
Oh,
you're
it's terrible.
if you're at that point, you should probably move churches.
My old church, Mercy Culture, was like that, where
Oh,
they're
yeah.
where they're like, you know, if I'm saving this for a Mercy.
No, I
video.
understand. Yeah.
But there was a point where this woman approached the front and was screaming, "I've been assaulted by somebody," and they threw her out and
Yep.
said it was witchcraft. You know what I mean? And that's the same culture that those people that you're talking
absolutely.
about are a part. You know, that mindset where it's like people come up with legit things. You know, the victim of Robert Morris had a legit claim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know what her demands were. I don't know. I don't know. It could have been a ransom. It could have been.
It was to pay for therapy.
Exactly, and
Yeah,
that's why
that's it.
that's why I thought it was like. But you know, we don't know for sure. That's her story. But you know, maybe there's more to it. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's like they won't. What is it about? Like they could have just paid for the therapy,
Right.
and she probably would have kept her mouth shut.
I think it was a part of the admission of guilt thing. You know, it's like believing their own lie or whatever.
Right.
Like, who knows what it could have been?
Yeah.
But it's just when you have that much power go to your head
Yeah.
and you feel like you're untouchable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Robert thought about that
Sure.
for a decade.
Well, I just.
And then it started making traction. Then it was like, oh crap. Like the executioner's at the door. Gotta run.
Well, I can't imagine how many Gateway people that just attend, the peasants, like we talked about that one episode.
Right.
The peasants. I
Yes.
can't imagine how many Gateway people messaged the victim. I don't know her name,
Oh,
but messaged her and was like, "You Jezebel,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
evil." Like
That was the
hate.
weird culture they had. And then so that's why
that's any church.
there are plenty of people who are still going there.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get to what you just said there. I'll get to that in a second. There
Sure.
are plenty of people right now who either they're so hurt that they need there to be some sort of redemption because then they feel redeemed in some way,
Yeah.
or they are just delusional.
Mhm.
I feel like both people should just, if you've been like super hurt by it, like I think, you know, like forgive those who are taking responsibility, but then just move on. Like, I don't think there's any shame in moving on, saying like, you're not giving up on Gateway. Gateway gave up on you. You know, like there's no need to stay loyal to one particular church,
Sure.
right? Because like the church is a body of people. It's not a building with staff, you know, like
I wouldn't say Gateway's given up on him though. No, don't get me wrong. Robert Morris jumped ship. The elders jumped ship, but there's still good people there, like Trey, and there's other Treys in there. I promise
Yeah.
you, and you know that. That are trying to fix it. You know, so
I just at this point, like even Ethan Morris, well, not Morris, but Ethan, the son-in-law, he's cut ties completely. He ran into his church. He dropped the Gateway name.
okay.
Like he's abandoned it. You
Sure.
know, like, and it's like I don't.
He had nothing to do with that.
I
so,
know, but
you
I don't blame him. But
I
like
don't either.
he
Yeah.
he changed the name
Sure.
because he doesn't want to be associated with it. So I'm like, honestly, I feel like there's no shame in saying that maybe this is just Gateway's time.
Mm.
Like you don't. I feel like the people who are passionate, who believe in Gateway's message, they could start something new that would be even better if they all put their heads together.
You can't though, because Gateway is such an established brand.
Yeah,
a
it is.
bit tainted. Okay.
But like
Albeit-
Hillsong was too, and
did
even though
this last time.
Hillsong's still kind of big, it's still tainted.
Yep.
Like to the point where people won't even hear it.
Sure.
And I feel like that's what Gateway is now. And there were already Gateway haters. Forever there were Gateway
yeah.
haters. Plenty of
The
them.
mega church. If
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
if you're a mega church, there's also a mega group of haters
Right.
coming after you.
Just automatically associate.
Yeah.
But this time it was just like one bad thing after another. And the leaders clearly showed their inability to show sentiment or compassion or responsibility.
Yep.
And now that all of them are gone, there's unfortunately a couple who are now they have the leadership role. They're grabbing the helm before the boat completely sinks. And they're saying we can still recover from this. I believe it. If it's God's will, that's fine.
Sure.
But I don't think you should hold yourself to that believing that if there's something else better that could be, you know, if there's a door
Yeah.
that's opening, which a lot of people are leaving.
Yeah, I would
They
say,
have probably 50% by now.
aren't their tithes down?
Their tithes down and their numbers are like if you
Yeah.
look at a weekend,
Do you know what their tithes are down to? Because I saw it's almost half.
it's
tithes are down
Well,
almost
it would make sense because their attendance is half now, so it would
Yeah.
make sense.
I think Gateway, whether they stay open or not, I don't blame anybody that wants to leave, but you have
Sure.
to understand you're gonna have church hurt
Yeah.
no matter where you go. I'm sorry, man. I pray it's never to this scale where it's like
Sure.
because I was hurt when I heard what Robert had done.
Yeah.
I was hurt about that, and that hurt my because up until then I loved him and I got a lot from his messages and he
Yeah.
helped me so much in the early days of my faith.
Yeah. Me
You
too.
know, so like, and it's sad, and so I mean, when I
If
first
would have
heard it,
stayed there, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
yeah, I was sad. I didn't believe it when I first heard it. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, if I would have stayed there all these years,
Yeah.
I would be in the same boat. That's what I'm saying. Is that I think a little bit more critically now because I have gone to a few churches in
Yeah.
my adult years.
Right.
When you're there, when you've grown up there, you maybe worked there, your whole family is there, you were in the production, you were
Yeah.
in like everything that was like the giving movements, you know, like you were through it all, through Robert's almost death, you know, like
Yeah.
I feel like it's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
Because you should never be 100% loyal to a place, you know, like, and I don't I'm not by no means calling for the extinction of Gateway. I don't think that's the solution,
Yeah.
but I still think there's plenty of people who should be moving on probably. And that's their call to make, right?
Yeah.
But I still think the healthiest thing would be to move on, not for jump the church completely, like
For
find
sure.
something else.
Yeah.
You know, it's similar. That's why our numbers are getting really high right now. Is because like
yeah.
all of our campuses are really
Numbers
close
are
to-
up.
yeah.
Our new church coin is going up, skyrocketing. Not a rug
by
pull.
now, by now.
Not a rug pull,
But
guys.
to go to your point,
Yeah.
every church culture, I don't agree with that because he even said
Mm-hmm.
that the biggest problem the Gateway has is that their culture got in their own way.
Yeah.
They allowed their culture to be the number one thing, you know, like whatever that was, right? And it was a culture of toxicity, and it still is a culture of toxicity and
You think so?
cover-ups. Oh yeah, because I know people who work there. I used to work there quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like I've been in there. I've seen behind the scenes.
But that was
I've
all
seen-
under Morris, though. You don't think it's improved since then?
It doesn't do it overnight. I mean, yes, it may have improved a little bit.
This is different. This was an overnight change.
What I mean is there are still so many leaders
Yeah.
who were instilled, who were still part of that old regime that are still in there.
Sure.
We're just seeing the top.
Yeah.
But like Gateway is such a massive organization.
Oh, yeah.
There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people on staff, like a massive
Mm-hmm.
organization is.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of leaders under that old same toxic regime that are still there. And here's the thing. We both know this. We know stories of SA
Yeah.
that never got the light of day.
Right.
I know at least 3 of them
Yeah.
in Gateway
Mm-hmm.
on staff
Yeah.
with volunteers, and they never got the light of day. And they were told it was their fault. They were told that they have no case, basically, and they got gaslit into not believing it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's such a serious subject, but
It's a serious episode.
it is that just shows me, dude, it's in the blood. It's in the DNA. Now, does that mean that no church can have that? You know, and if it does, it depends on the response. It depends on the
suppose.
response of these organizations, right? My church had an incident like that, and
Yeah.
immediately when it got found out, they contacted the FBI. The FBI contacted them, and they completely complied with it.
Right.
Gateway did not.
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
the higher people did not care.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if that is going on a lot more than I think it is, which sounds like it is, but at the same time, I want to give them a chance to fix it,
Mm-hmm.
which I think they can.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying they won't.
I think it's that the blood is too tainted.
Okay.
And in the same way I would hold someone responsible to comply with the laws and take responsibility, I would hold an organization to the same stance, you know?
Oh yeah.
If it was like freaking, not Google, but something smaller than that, like some tech company, you know, it was like, or, you know, how like Blizzard went through that problem, you know, like how people were getting, there were so many SA lawsuits, you know, and like complaints, and they got ignored, and Blizzard kind of lost their reputation like tenfold. Now, are they still a thing? Yes, they are, but like people don't really respect them anymore. And I think it's just be the same thing where it's like, I think you should only give them so much credit and say, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. It's like, you can get through this. I don't necessarily think you have to take Gateway with you.
Yeah.
You know, like that's
Of course. No, you don't.
yeah.
You,
Like
you definitely don't.
because like if Gateway was gone tomorrow, that doesn't mean now the church world, the Christian world, I think will be hurt a little bit because it
Yeah.
had such a standpoint
Oh,
there.
yeah.
But the people don't have to be gone.
Right.
The people can move on and do new things. Like that's how it works.
Yeah.
And like that's how it's supposed to be. Like you really think this is a thing like with the first church, you know? It's like no, because they were meeting out of people's houses, you know. They were meeting like in buildings, like it's and then one after another. Like there wasn't a whole lot of structure there yet.
Yeah.
Now they're building towards it, but it still wasn't like the way it is now, where it's run so business heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just kind of the danger I think that all megachurches face one day is if they get too big, they become too much like a regular organization with regular organizational problems. But the fact that they have that Christian tag, they get away with a lot more
Yeah.
because they have an army of diehard defendants, you know. And the elders for these megachurches, they don't act like elders; they act like a defense team. That's what they did. They were a legal defense team.
Yeah.
And when they all got found out, they all
But
jumped ship.
they sucked at that too. Because
Yeah, exactly.
again,
They couldn't
the
even do that.
the first sign of danger, they were like, "I'm out." They put the scuba gear on. They dove.
right.
Dove off ship.
Right. But do you know? Okay,
Yeah.
so this is kind of a rumor, but I heard
Okay.
from some reliable sources that Robert's next plan, because he actually visited my church, or his son did at least.
Okay, so we are getting into that. I
Yeah,
wasn't sure.
yeah.
I wasn't gonna bring it up.
Yeah, his son did visit my church.
Okay. Where did he say he was gonna go before he lied and showed up at your church?
I think it was Florida,
Right. That's what I heard too.
and
Okay.
now
Yeah.
it's Keller,
Mm-hmm.
the most saturated church area.
So tell now. Go ahead. Start over. I just wanted to lay the baseline.
Okay, yeah.
Tell me that story
so-
again.
from the beginning.
So he said he was going to Florida. I
Yes.
remember when he announced it to Gateway, and he was
Mhm.
waving to everybody, and I was
Yeah,
clapping because he was
right.
finally leaving. I didn't like him, by the way.
Right.
Sorry.
But now, well, I mean, him and Robert
Yeah.
want to start a new church in Keller. That's where on the street.
Yep.
But
But here's the thing: people are still going to attend.
people will. Those are the people I'm talking about.
Hmm.
The loyalists, those
Yep.
delusional loyalists.
Maybe we should join so we could be the higher ups.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah. We'll
get-
be elders on
That's,
staff.
That's so right.
We'll get paid.
To do
God told him it's in his book. The Art to Life. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that also frustrates me because every time I went to like a counselor at Gateway,
Yeah.
always they did was give me a Robert book.
Yeah.
Now I have a collection. It's worth millions.
You got to go to independent counseling.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to.
I learned that the hard way.
Me and Maddie's premarital counseling was so good, so it's
Yeah.
doable.
So yeah, that's basically the skinny. That's where I'm at. But I still think every Christian should watch that stream. Not to bash Gateway because I don't disagree with what they did here in this moment.
Yeah.
But just to see that every church is susceptible to it.
Yeah.
Any church, no matter how big, no matter how good, no matter how faithful you think they are, every church is susceptible to it. Every church has dirt, even mine.
Mhm.
Every church has this.
Yeah, I
problem
was
to
going to
some
say,
extent.
so I don't know. Like, I understand your point of like the foundation is tainted to where like anytime something like this happens,
Yeah.
they're going to cover it up. If that's the case, then yeah, there's more of a case to like maybe it just needs to die. But I don't think it will. I think they're downsizing. If the tides are cutting in half, they're gonna have to
If
start.
they close a church,
They're gonna have to start closing campuses.
I don't think they're thinking about that right now. But if they do, then they will most likely turn into like a one church kind
Yeah,
of thing.
right.
Probably down the line.
Yeah,
If they don't, then they got to do some serious like refinancing.
they're
because
gonna have to.
They can't maintain all that.
Oh no, absolutely not.
I mean, Gateway Conference. Think about that. That was world famous. People from
Yeah.
all over the world came to that every year. One of the biggest church events of the year in the world.
we're slashing prices and events. We're slashing events.
Everything must go. All
Yeah.
the Robert books. Everything must go. Please.
I wonder where those went.
Evident. They probably burned them all.
Do they sell them? Like, do
I don't
stores
think they
sell
could.
them?
I don't think that. Well.
Do Barn-
Oh.
yeah. Does
Well,
like
they probably sell them at some Christian bookstores.
let me check Amazon real quick. I'm not gonna buy one, but I want to see. I
But
want
if
to see
I-
if they're still doing this.
Yeah.
The Blessed Life.
Oh boy.
Oh, all right. Robert Morris book. There it is. Yep, still on Amazon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let me check the reviews here. I want to see if the reviews went down.
Yeah. He also at that point just made a big deal with Dr. Phil.
We can talk about that in a minute. 3, 2, 1. All right. Upon looking at Amazon, the last review was last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so I would have figured the books would have been review bombed,
Oh yeah.
but no. So the
Maybe that
Blessed
doesn't
Life.
happen with books as much
Right.
as it does with other things. but-
There was a time when a book was review bombed. There's a lady who spoke out against Mass Effect the game, and she went on Fox News and was like, the sex scenes in it are disgusting.
Oh yeah, I know who that is.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jeff Cayley had to hop on and defend it, and he's like, "Bro, like that's not how the game is." So everyone review bombed her book, and they
I
said
see.
because in the interview she's like, "I didn't play the game, but it looks disgusting," and then so everyone review bombed. I didn't read her book, but it's gross.
Sarkeesian, I think what her name
No,
was.
different
Oh, okay,
lady. No.
gotcha.
I've not seen her since like what is it, 11 years ago now
Yeah.
when she was famous.
Mhm.
Yeah, she dropped off Earth.
Who is the? This is just the male fantasy. Who was that girl? I forget who
That was on one of those React World videos.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was one of the Fine Bros videos.
Oh, React.
I
World.
hate this because React World's when they try
This
to
is why I hate
copyright.
video games because it just appeals to man. I love that meme because people
Yeah.
put the stupidest.
Yeah,
things.
like in Resident Evil 2, like gas prices are like 40 cents a gallon.
Male
It appeals to the male fantasy.
It'll never not be funny.
Yeah, I know. It's great. I wonder if that girl ever got married, or did she find a husband who had no male fantasies?
No male fantasies.
Yeah. Anyway,
Lobotomized.
back to depressing. Okay, it's
Yeah.
raining outside. Okay, it's sad in this podcast studio.
Mhm.
It's a sad place to be.
Yeah.
So books are still for sale. He's still getting money off of them. Somebody's still buying them. Like
Sure.
I don't know. He has a
His mom
following.
is, yeah.
He can open in Keller, or maybe if let's say he opened in Alaska.
Yeah.
Alaska's population would go up for people attending his church.
Heck yeah.
It's like Taylor Swift coming to town.
Oh, yeah.
Our town's turning to a city for the weekend.
Right.
I don't think Gateway's going to close. I think at the most they're going to have to downsize to just South Lake or something. But I think they can recover, and I'd like them to recover if they can put the proper foundation. If they're going to continue as is, I don't want them to recover. But
Yeah.
if they can improve, if they can chop out all the bad policies that people can cover up SA and SA of kids, and obviously, I think they should be given a chance to fix it if they can.
Yeah.
And I hope they do. But I don't think they're ever gonna die.
Mhm.
They're still gonna have all these loyalists. But I also want you to be careful when you say just switch churches. I know that's not what you're saying, but people can just take this church hurt me. I'm just gonna switch churches, and every time I'm hurt, I'm gonna get up and go. I want you to also be careful with that if you're thinking about leaving Gateway or your church in general. We can talk about church hurt someday, which is coming up. I want to talk about why I left Mercy Culture. That's coming up soon, and it's a very personal story.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't advise just leaving on a whim because you disagree with one thing or you got hurt in one area.
This definitely wasn't a whim, though.
No, but there are people that do that. There are people, the same people
Sure.
that dump into crypto.
Which I don't agree to people
Yeah.
who just
Yeah,
church shop, quote unquote.
but don't buy anything.
Yeah, it's more the people who are loyal for the wrong reasons. Like I was
Yeah.
texting a friend about this when it all came out, and he immediately denied it. And he didn't even read the article I sent him. He just
Right.
immediately denied it.
I said that's not true.
I said, read the article. And as soon as he read it, he was just like, well, there's probably a reason or something,
Yeah,
like
there's a reason
called her a
she
lo-
was underage.
yeah, exactly. Like, I was like, he literally admitted it had to take Robert admitting it for people to sometimes, and even then, people are still
yeah.
defending him. So I'm like, those people are the people. I think the healthiest thing for you to do is move on.
Yeah.
People who just like jump, they're not like who are weak in their faith and they just jump. The slightest sign of like iceberg. It's like, yeah, that is what it is. I think you should just like rethink your life or something because maybe Christianity isn't for you. Like
Right.
maybe you should rethink that part. I don't want you to, but maybe you should. But like, yeah, these people who are just like anything goes, no matter what he says. It's like the crazy political people too. It's the same thing. It's actually the same category because typically those people are the same sentiment. Like no matter what my candidate does, it doesn't freaking matter. I will still defend this person, to my life. They'll get into actual fights over it.
Yeah.
I remember this one time that it's kind of scary, but I thought it was cool in the moment. But it's kind of scary now I think about it. Do you remember Highways and Byways? It was that YouTube channel, the guy with a megaphone going to all these mega churches, and like you probably met him before.
Really?
He was screaming in a megaphone at all these churches. He hit up in a Gateway all the time. At the
Nice.
campus I went to, he hit it up, and then like 3 biker guys got pissed off, and they got on their bikes and they started circling him.
No.
I'm like,
Did he continue to do it after
he kept going.
that? Oh no.
I'm like, dude. First, I thought that was cool in the moment, but now I'm like, dude, like, that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Christians do when their pastor is insulted. Like
Right.
they take up arms. Like
Yeah.
that's scary. You should never do that
Mhm.
for another person. Like
Yeah.
in that context. And I know there are people who do way worse. So
Yeah, absolutely.
and people were cheering him on. And I'm like,
Mhm. I think Robert Morris should be done. I don't think he should be opening another church. I don't think he should be allowed to.
well, that's the
And
thing. Yeah, absolutely.
People
but
disagree with that. I know. Okay, you know.
yeah,
I'm not going to mention my parents' names or anything, but
Right.
yeah, I don't know. Just some people are like, well, why can't he sell? No,
no,
he shouldn't.
absolutely.
You know what I
not.
mean?
Even if
Absolutely
he
not.
said he was sorry, even
Yeah.
if he gave the best apology ever, he should never be allowed to anymore. He lost it. First of all, he's like
Mhm.
so old. But second of all, like even if he was young, you do not get that opportunity again
I agree.
because you abused it. Like,
Yep.
and you have to, even if you seek forgiveness, you get it on earth. You
Yep.
still have to deal with that after this.
Because my parents brought up a point and they said like, well, he submitted to the consequences when it happened, and I was like, well, yeah, but 40 years ago, the consequences were we're sending you to summer
Yeah,
camp.
pretty much.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
the
half the gu-
consequences back then were nothing.
Half the guys in that room was probably like, "Oh, was that your first time?" Like
exactly.
legitimately.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We all go down that road.
Uh-huh.
every
Yeah,
once in a while.
we've all been there.
It's
All my kids, man. You know what I mean? But the
It's
consequences
awful.
back then were nothing.
Yeah. Oh no.
You know what I mean?
in any industry,
And
but
did-
like, yeah.
And back then, did he even turn himself in, or he get caught? You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably got caught. Like,
Exactly.
if anything, I doubt he. I mean, I can't say in his fate, like if he had conviction
sure.
or not. But the fact his behavior now tells me that maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe he'd ignored that part of himself. But-
Exactly.
so yeah, again, and I kind of defended him when Ravi Zacharias got found out and Gateway didn't say anything.
Mhm.
But now I'm like, actually, maybe there's something to it.
Mhm.
Maybe there's something to saying like, hey, like he was a friend of mine. I'm hurt just as much.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry we've led you astray. Like that would have gone so far.
My college ministries followed a lot of Ravi Zacharias,
Yeah.
and it's like, I mean, I was out of college when all that stuff happened, but I was like, I wonder how they addressed it if they did.
I don't think you should take. I don't think. I don't agree with this necessarily. But my mom stopped going to church because of Ravi Zacharias because she was his biggest supporter.
Yeah.
And when she found out all that disgusting stuff, she just never really trusted it again.
Your whole life's a lie.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that. I
Mhm.
really
I can-
do get that
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
When I had to leave Mercy Culture, I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And now luckily I had a backup because there was another church already kind of trying to get me to go over there. They wanted me, which was great.
Yeah.
I've never had a church pursue me. That's pretty cool.
Mm.
But so I had something to fall back on. And I want to say fall back on like it was like, oh, this is my second choice. Like it's a
Yeah.
good church. Like that, I'm not talking down about it. It was just nice that there was already something waiting for me. That's
Yeah.
how I'll put it. That's better. There was something waiting for me and trying to get me to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like I got saved at Mercy Culture. Everything I knew about my walk with the Lord was through Mercy.
Yeah.
And so it was sad when I had to leave,
Mm-hmm.
And of course I didn't have to. I chose to. It was a choice I made, but it was like, it was to your point, knowing when it's time to move on.
Yeah.
I'm not growing anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want me there.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's just all this stuff. So it's like, okay, it was a tough one. We'll get into it. We're going to have Matt on for that one. And then I think you want to chime into it.
Yeah, because I have my own perspective from it.
Yeah. I'm going to be mean that episode. I'm just going to let you know because you're going to be like, I didn't like their vibes. And I'll be like,
As long as I get to say my piece,
yeah.
because I've been holding in forever.
You
but
just be ready. I won't respect your piece. Because, I don't know. There's so many, without getting into why I left Mercy Culture,
Yeah.
but there's so many people that did leave where I was like, that's it.
right.
Nothing happened to you. Well,
Sure.
I didn't feel right.
Mm.
You didn't feel right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you convinced me.
To be clear, I did
Yeah.
not actually attend that church,
Yeah.
but I went a few times, and yeah, I have a whole story behind it, but
Mhm.
not as big as yours, obviously, but still, it's
Or
one of
even
those,
Matt's. Matt's got a decent story
yeah,
on his, but a lot of it does stem from mine. We served together.
it was an outside.
stuff.
So for me, it's an outside perspective
Yeah.
because I watched Caleb and a few of my friends all about this, and while it was happening, from an outside perspective, and then when you finally made that decision, we had a conversation about
Yeah.
it. I was like,
Yeah. Because when I asked you about it, was I even sure I was going to leave, or was it already set in stone?
You were, I think, yeah, because you were talking about that counselor they gave you. Remember how they said you have to like counsel with one of our leaders or something, and then we'll see where you're at.
Yeah.
That's what you told me.
Yeah.
So you were still kind of on the fence, but like probably 70% sure you were probably going to move. Like, I think you were unsure. You're like,
Yeah.
I feel like I have to move, but I still want to give it a chance because I'm so confused. Like you seemed confused. Like,
Yeah.
how could this have happened? You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
why is this happening?
Yeah. Which
So
I never got an answer for, by the way.
So audience, just so you know, this was not just like Caleb's like, I'm sick of this and left. Like
Yeah.
he got
It was tough.
stabbed so bad.
Yeah. So, but I'll get to that. I'm working on a
Yeah.
video on what led up to that.
Mm-hmm.
My stalker.
Yeah.
I'm working on that video. And then after that, once I get to the point in the stalker story where it's like, okay, and this is why I left the church.
Sure.
Because it affected how I started going to church. Then it was like, then I left. And that's when we'll talk about why I left.
It involves a podcast, oddly enough, which is really interesting.
Well, that's what they said, but they lied. They were not the same way they cover up all stuff at Gateway. They covered up my being there.
Right.
So whatever.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if I'll name names on that one. Obviously, they know who the pastor is, but I already said
Sure.
Mercy, so
Yeah,
it's too late now. You got to bleep every single time I say it. Yeah.
Peace. Yeah.
So.
I'll just say Mercy Me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I actually cringe whenever I see a sticker now for Mercy.
I know, and I had a bunch of them. I never stuck them on my car, just because they're tacky.
It tells me that at this point, with all the stuff that's come out, you're still loyal. I'm just like, oh, you're just not someone I want to be a friend with.
Yeah, well, you can take it off. If I had it on and I left, I'd
You want me to go
taken
take it off their car?
I'm talking about me.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Exactly. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't want to be that person, but take the sticker off.
yeah. There's so much crazy stuff going on at Mercy now. It's insane. We'll get into it though at some point.
Yeah.
But anyway, Gateway Church. I think, if it's church hurt, I mean, you got to make a choice. If it's gonna keep hurting you, then sure. My old childhood pastor, I won't say his name. He didn't give me all the details. Just give me Cliff Notes. But he left the church that I grew up in as a kid for like 5 or 6 years in the early years of me growing up. He was at that church, and he left because there was a pastor who's in charge of him that was just trying to get him fired and hated his guts and shot down all his ideas. And I believe that. I believe him.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they want to feel important, and when they don't feel important, they leave. And that's like, okay, you're just trying to serve yourself. You're trying to build a name for you.
Yeah.
But this guy did so much work, decades and decades of child stuff. And for the longest time, they're like, yeah, we're behind anything you want to do. And then suddenly this guy is in charge of him. And he's like, hates him, wants to get him fired. He's yelling at him. He's pulling him into his office to scream at him. So he's like, I'm leaving,
Yeah.
He starts his own church. And then 5 years down the line, the church doesn't work out. So he closes it. And then he gets a call from the pastor. And he's like, hey, come back and work for us, come on. And they were like, and so he said, well, I just don't want to work for that guy. Like, I can't work for him. But if I don't work for him, I'll come back. And that's what happened. So like, if it's a time to move on, do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But then like, I still think that church though, even if I move on from it, there's still give it a chance to fix what it needs to fix.
Yeah.
I still believe in like, I think Gateway will recover. I really do. I think they're gonna lose who they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Whoever they're gonna lose is just gonna leave. And then after that, they're gonna take their money with them. They're probably going to have to close campuses down. I mean, unless all those campuses are independent where, hey, NRH campus brings this much money in. This is our budget.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it all goes to one spot and then it's allocated. I'm pretty sure.
That's how it typically works.
Yeah. So if that's the case, unless each church is super independent, they're going to have to close down campuses.
Yeah.
If they're losing 50%, you can only lay off so many people before you have a big empty building.
Sure.
All the stuff you built on it, all the extra wings. Oh, we expanded. Well, how are you going to keep up the cost of those expansions now if you don't have any staff? So you can only fire so many people before you got to start selling off buildings. So let Gateway shrink to about as small as it's going to get to where now we're back to we're meeting our bills, we're paying the people we can pay, and then grow. And then if you want to try and grow again at some point, you're gonna have to grow from there.
Yeah.
But I think Gateway should be allowed to do that. But they also they should fix whatever is wrong with it. I think they need to go ahead and fix the issues they have. If there's still stuff they need to cut out, then they just need to cut it out.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just gonna grow. and recover back into what they used to be. But it sounds like right now they have people there that recognize the culture is bad, and I really hope that they put their money where their mouth is. Their actions reflect how they say they're acting now. You know, getting rid of the elder board like that's going to have an impact. I mean, whether or not there's still people there from the old regime. I mean, there's no elder board to back them up. So it's gonna be different. I mean, the old regime now has to adjust to the new format.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's still hope, I think. So I hope whoever's in charge after Robert Morris, I know they got some filler pastors. I hope they do finish and recover. I want them to recover personally. I think there's a lot of good that came out of Gateway. Of course, I'd never blame the victims, but why didn't the parents push a little bit harder on some of these? Why did they let the church gaslight him into you don't have a case? Like, I don't have a case, you say. Well, that's not what my lawyer says, buddy. And we'll see what the judge thinks about me not having a case.
I don't know. And I don't know what to say about that because, again, from what it sounded like, the father was like, his eyes went red, right? With rage because of this. And he called out the lies. But, like, I don't know. Maybe it was just like expert level manipulation and gaslighting. Like, I don't know how that would even happen, but I doubt that the father eventually with his daughter was basically like, you know what? It is what it is. Like, that's kind of sick. But unfortunately, I know some people in that situation where the same thing happened, where like you fight really hard at the very beginning and then you kind of get told no.
But it depends on who tells me no. Of course, now I'm not in that position. But
what if you get told not enough evidence or whatever, like.
But if the perpetrator's telling me there's not enough evidence, then like, okay, buddy, then why are you trying to take my phone away while I call 911 if there's no evidence? You know what I mean? So if the perpetrator, in this case, the mega church, is telling me you don't have a case, okay, well, we'll see what the judge thinks.
I think
if the judge tosses it, the judge tosses it.
Well, I think you underestimate how powerful Robert was even back then. He owned that town. Like, he owned where he was. Like, he wasn't like just a new up and coming dude, like an adults pastor. No, he was like not as big as he is now or was now, but like he was still the guy on the street.
So you think the courts were sold out to him?
No, I think he controlled everyone, and everyone was probably telling his dad the same thing, and it just got, again, kind of like
I could see that
cultish,
okay,
like
I can see that.
Scientology. Like
you got like all the volunteers even are like, look, man,
like it's not real. It never happened. And I can't imagine the psychological turmoil.
I could see that.
Him, his wife, and his daughter. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's easy to say that, but I'm like, I don't know what he was going through. Like
that's
what he felt.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of people, even maybe some of his friends came up and said, hey, man.
Probably.
You probably got to let this go.
Right.
Like, hey, it sucks. And I'm not denying that it happened, but look, man, like, you don't want to bring that kind of negativity on the church.
That's going to hurt the church.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt the mission.
I mean, haven't you had a lot of good happen?
Yeah.
We moved this guy. We got him out of that position,
He's taking months off.
Yeah.
Like, it's exactly. I think what happened.
I could see that. No, that's different. But I don't know. In this day and age, man, the only way you're going to make your fortune is if you win a lawsuit. So if some, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't change the past. Something really bad happened to this person, but you know what? I can change their future.
Right.
you know? So I don't know. I want I want any church.
And it was that time period. You're right. It was that time period where it was just a different. Yeah. I'm sure he didn't think that way, but like at that time, it wasn't taken seriously.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So I think the time Robert Morris committed the crime, that was before even the big Catholic Church reveal. Oh yeah, way before that.
Way before that.
So literally just nobody took church claims seriously back then.
Yeah.
So you're gonna tell me, well, he submitted to the consequences back then, did he? So I mean, I'm sure he did. If the consequence is this, I'd submit to that. If I could get off on a murder charge with this, I'd confess. Yeah, I'd confess to stuff I didn't do.
Right.
It's just to close some cases.
Yep.
So, that was my counterpoint when I heard that. They were like, well, he submitted to the process back then. I was like, there was no process back then.
No, what they did was they read the Old Testament and like some of the New Testament. They were like, yeah, let's do something like this.
Back then, the blame was on the victims,
Exactly. Yep.
Like, well, you were possessed by Jezebel and you seduced
You
our
were
pastor.
you're provoking it.
Yeah,
You 12-year-old person.
Yeah, you seduced our pastor, you sick child.
You're the problem.
Yeah, and
Yep.
it's such a different time. Like you can't tell me he submitted anything more than a vacation back then.
All right, paid
I'm
vacation.
sorry,
probably.
paid, absolutely. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm just
Yeah.
no. But anyway, that's kind of. I mean, unless you got something else on that, I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's exhausting.
Yeah.
That's
Okay. Well,
that's all I ever want to talk about it again. Probably is too. Just like
that's fair. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't imagine I can't imagine there's going to be any bigger like revelations.
no.
The big one was what Robert Morris did,
Yeah.
and then like the tax stuff is more like accusations at this point, which is supposedly being investigated. So if that gets investigated, it's done. Then I'm okay with not worrying about it again.
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
I think it's going to continue to shrink. So if their tides are 50% down, they're going to have to start selling off buildings.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, once it's down to whatever campus they pick, which will probably be South Lake, but maybe it could be NRH or NFW, and then that's their main campus.
Yeah.
But once they're done downsizing, I think it's going to recover.
Sure.
Maybe it'll never be big like it was. It probably won't. Honestly, it'll never be big like it. Excuse me. It'll never be big like it used to be.
Sure.
Almost did it again. But I think it can at least live. The Gateway brand before all this was so big, and it still is big. People are still talking about it. People are still attending. People are still defending.
Yeah.
But if they just kind of focus on that and just kind of let the downsizing, let all the chips fall where they may, and once that's done, just go from there.
Yeah.
Hit rock bottom, which I think they've already hit. Depending on how this investigation into the finances goes.
If they're found guilty if they go to court and found
Yeah.
guilty, that will be rock bottom.
That's probably, yeah.
But this is as morally though, this is rock bottom probably.
Yeah.
But
Can't
yeah.
go any worse than that.
But again, to reiterate, I still very much appreciate what the team now is trying to do.
Yeah.
And I guess
They're trying to be forthcoming. They're trying to be transparent. Like, here's the investigations. Here's who cooperated. Here's who didn't.
it's so hard to undo
What someone else did.
what someone else did, but also what the last guy who tried to come forward did. Because like at first, Gateway's stance was, "We're strong, we're gonna get through this." Blah blah blah. Just a little stump, right?
Yeah.
To undo that on top of it, it's like it's you're 3, 4, 5 people down the row, and you're the guy who's like the first person to be honest about anything. Yeah, it's gotta be a hard.
And that was forced on him. Probably the day of, like, hey, you're gonna be willing to speak. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to the victim. I'm sorry to you guys. We're gonna cut service a little early.
Well, actually, I will say the worship after that,
Yeah.
probably felt the most genuine that it ever has in so long.
Yeah.
It felt like a let's stand together kind of thing, and not a let's stand together and fight these allegations. More like a we can recover from this.
Yeah.
Again, that's true. I don't necessarily think it will be in the same line as like Gateway, but like just as a people, the community, I think will recover from it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They will. They have to. I want them to. I want the people to live. I want the people to survive and endure. The church, it's too much trust, too much, what's the word? Faith. Sure. I feel like there's a stronger word, but people just put too much on to the church.
Equity and
just people put too much on the church.
Yeah.
The church isn't the building, the brand. That's not what it's about. It's always been the people, the good people, not the ones that are causing the hurt.
Yeah.
But even then, the good people make mistakes too. Not like that. Those are
Right.
different kind of mistakes. But other stuff, like I've been hurt by friends before. Like our Monday group, we had some hurt. Like we had. And it was just me, Darcy, and some other people leading it. You know what I mean? Like, and there's hurt between all of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just gonna happen. We're all human. It doesn't have to be. If one of them came out and said, "Hey, when we touched a child," then they're gone.
I wouldn't claim those as mistakes.
That's
I
not
think
it,
yeah.
No. Oops.
I never claim. Yeah. How'd that happen? No,
Whoopsie daisy.
But yeah, you're right. It can happen anywhere. It's just, unfortunately, that's the only way to learn about people sometimes. Is like you have to go and meet.
That episode I told you about, the buddy who was a buddy who tried to snipe that girl from me that I wasn't even interested in. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I learned his true character.
Right.
You know, like, because he did that a week into me meeting him. You know, like,
Yeah.
oh no, that's not me. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
If that's you when you're trying to be on your best behavior, then I can't imagine the real you when my if I try to actually confide in you about stuff.
Right.
So anyway. All right, I think that's it.
I think so,
Hope
too.
that was a good discussion for you guys. Hope nobody's too offended. Like, I mean, this isn't stuff we did. This is
Yeah.
stuff that we're talking about. You know, it is what it is. Like, and I good faith effort. I think you agree. They're trying to just move on, be transparent, and move forward. So,
And for those who are like, what is all this religious bull crap? It's just stuff in our personal lives that we feel like, like, and I took a little longer to get to this point where I was ready. So I apologize about that. It's just stuff that's happened in our lives that I don't feel like we just need to talk about.
yeah, church
get out
hurts.
there.
Church hurt is universal. You know, like if you're not in Texas, if you're in the Philippines and you go to a church, like this stuff can happen to you too.
Absolutely.
You know, so maybe we should have laid better foundation at the beginning of like, oh, what's going on with Gateway? How did we get here? But oh well, it's not like we had the biggest audience ever.
Right.
See y'all next time.